South Sudan is the newest state in Africa and the world after voting to separate from Sudan in January 2011. South Sudan has been ravaged by a devastating and protracted civil war that lasted for 21 years. The war claimed the lives of over 2 million people and caused massive displacement of population, destruction of property, and untold human suffering to the citizens of both Sudan and South Sudan. This is the story we have heard from the world by the rest of the world. Few, if any, of the people who have been at the heart of this conflict have had an opportunity to tell their story. And so, there is much more the world is yet to know about South Sudan.
We know our country is not in peace, and some of us would have not made it had it not because of the help of few of our partners, who are, some of them are in Nairobi here, and we thank God for that. So I'm very much happy and optimistic that this time it will be a new time, new turn. For us in South Sudan, we will identify ourselves with people who can do something at least to expose, to reflect what God has been doing in our lives and the life of our church.
We were able to do training in different parts of the world through a network of men and women who make themselves available to share with others what they've learned in writing and publishing. So there are about 60 people in different parts of the world that help teach and equip others to write and to publish.
I'm leading a church here in Nairobi for the South Sudanese people as the leader of the church. So it is good for me to train them, to put their thoughts and experiences into writing like what I have done here. Because we have many things that we can write, but if we are not told how to do it, we may not think that we have something to offer. But we have a lot.
The Diocese of Rank of the Episcopal Church in South Sudan requested the partnership of Media Associates International to develop a 3-year training program to develop writers with the aim of telling the story of South Sudan by the people from South Sudan for the world to know and for generations to come.
The dream came through because of my background from my family, whom they did not get any education, and we have a lot of stories as an African. When we sit at the evening with the parents, they have to tell us the many good stories as children in order you can sleep, then they can take you to bed to sleep. And then there are many different stories for the kids and for adults and for young people. So before I became a bishop, as I was a principal of the college, I had been thinking about that, how we can put down or jot down our oral stories in order to make sense for the generation, next generation to come.
As the new nation is trying to rebuild, the broken school system, high illiteracy levels, and the lack of resources for schools and the growing church are realities to contend with. Bishop Joseph hopes that the church can be a part of the reconstruction of South Sudan.
I was just realized recently that I was just relaxed and going to the market to buy somebody's book. But for me, when I think about it, I decided to also to make research. Then I can work my own book to collect the information from the different background and different tribe. Then I can combine together the story about South Sudan.
I have been introduced to this workshop. So it's so nice to me, and I admire it, and I feel like to do something to my country and to Africa as a whole.
The Christian Publishing Development Program in South Sudan is expected to identify potential writers to be trained and mentored into writing, set in motion the process for the establishment of a publishing house, and provide ongoing mentoring and consultancy to ensure the publishing house is able to stand on its own.
The coming few months, I'm expecting that I will be able to come up with some materials that will be a result of what we have done here. So this is what I'm carrying away with me as I'm going back to South Sudan.
So I do hope that through the interactions we have succeeded in letting them know that their story is valued. Their story is part of the entire human story that we want to hear.
The first training took place in Rank, South Sudan in 2013 and the second one in Nairobi in September 2014. The second workshop attracted 10 participants who contributed to the completion of 3 projects that were started in the first workshop. These completed projects are Prayers for South Sudan, Letters to Our Children, and Stories from South Sudan. In addition, each of the participants identified an area of interest and developed an outline to continue writing in readiness for the 2015 Writers' Workshop.
In the future workshop, I myself, I want to represent my book also, and even my experience, like what happened yesterday from my colleagues. They share their experiences. Even the next workshop, I'm going to share my book and my experience with others also. Being a writer, it is something that you can do wherever you are. It does not need you a time you can sit and write, but it needs you a time you can feel or you think, and you write down and then you put it aside.
As far we have come across some writers who wrote their life stories or the history, where they came from and their difficulties and how they have overcome them. So I have learned a lot, of which if I go back, I can even write my own book.
It is Bishop Joseph's desire to see South Sudan Life Publishers established and giving hope and life to the people of South Sudan through the written word.
Well, we thought that we became a peaceful and free country, a new nation. So we had been thinking in order to do a lot for this, in order to back up our country and to educate our children. But unfortunately, the war come up in order to do this. So we are writing the prayers for the people of South Sudan to read them, so that they can bring all the people together to rebuild the country, calling all the people for rebuilding of the new nation, of the new country. So those letters are there, and also we have prayers. They are there to pray for our new nation, in order God can create a peace and reconciliation in our hearts, so that we can unite together and to build the country.
The name South Sudan Life Publishers was born during the first workshop in Rank. The partnership of Media Associates International, Publishing Institute of Africa, Tyndale House Foundation, and the Diocese of Rank has made all this possible for the glory of God.
I'm actually planning to change the whole world through writing. I need to let the world know, not only South Sudan, but I need to let the whole world know, and the rest of the community, that there's something they need to hear and there's something they need to do through writing.
It's been a great blessing this last week, hosting the team from South Sudan for the second year running, working with people who are upcoming writers. And it's always a great blessing to work with them, hear their stories as they tell their stories and as they write their stories. We have been privileged to work on 3 projects this past week that began last year. The first project is Prayers for South Sudan. The second project that we've been working on is Letters to Our Children. And the third project is Stories from South Sudan. We are very hopeful that by the end of the year, these 3 projects will be completed. And as a matter of fact, we are looking for a Christmas blessing and a gift for the people of South Sudan to have books that have been written by South Sudanese for South Sudanese. And we believe that they will be able to connect with these books because they have been written by their people who understand the circumstances that young nation has been going through. We've been able to work with them on other projects that they will be writing in the coming year. Each one of them has identified an area, a topic of interest that they want to write about. And so again, we are excited to see and to look forward to the new projects and to see how we can work with them to ensure that we bring them to completion.